Sam McKenney here with the Wildcat Golf Academy. Today what I want to talk to you about is a great way to work on your pitching motion, specifically your backswing and how you're going to hinge the club and how you're going to maintain loft on the club. So a lot of times we always talk with putting, chipping, and pitching, maintaining the loft of the club. So I'm just going to pitch out with a 56-degree club. And what we're going to talk about is how the club's going to go back, how the club face is going to react so we maintain loft so we don't open it too much or close it too much. And most of the time what we see with people is, I'd say 99% of the time we see with people, 99.5, is that the club comes in too much in the backswing and closes too much in the backswing for a basic pitch shot. Okay? So what I've done, I'll get up a little closer here, is I've taken this rubber band, okay, I've put it around my watch. So I basically took my watch off, wrapped the rubber band around my watch, then I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it around my middle finger, okay, and so what it's doing is it's allowing me to see a space between my between my wrist here. I'll get down a little closer. So it's allowing, if you can see, my wrist has a little bit of a cup to it, so you can see the space with the rubber band. If I flatten out my left wrist or my lead wrist, the rubber band's going to get closer to my hand, closer to the top part of my hand, and it's going to stretch the rubber band out. Okay, so from this view, if I take it back and I close the face, I flatten my left wrist, the rubber band gets closer to my wrist, top part of my hand, and I can feel it stretching. Okay, so it's a great way to just understand, okay, how am I going to really hinge this club, and can I get some feedback to know if I'm doing it correctly? So when I take my grip from this position, okay, for me, I'm just going to have a pretty standard neutral grip, and I have a little bit of cup, just a tiny bit of cup to my left wrist, just with the basic setup. So I know that with a little bit of cup, I'm going to have just a little bit of space between that rubber band and the top part of my hand. Okay? So in the beginning, even without a golf ball, I'm just going to make this backswing motion where the club sets, the face is going to open. So we call this, the club back goes back, what feels to be a little outside of our hands at least. So it goes back outside of our hands, up, and the face is starting to open a little bit. So if I held it in this position, I can see to maintain the space between the rubber band and the top part of my hand. If I go back this way, I know that I've flattened out my left wrist, I've stretched the rubber band, and the rubber band's closer to my wrist. So again, it's good feedback. You can do this anywhere. You don't even have to hit a golf ball or a shot. You can just do it in your office, you can do it at your house, wherever. Even if you had a net in your basement where you're just hitting into a net, you can practice this backswing motion. Where your arms go back, the club hinges appropriately, so the club hinges up and out. Club face is in a good position to maintain the loft properly, okay, for this, and then we can actually hit shots, and when we come through, if I was facing you, come through, let the club head go, I work left, the face remains in a good position. Again, I can take a look at my left wrist, and I haven't moved that or deviated away from my position. I haven't flattened it and rotated the face too much, so I've maintained my loft throughout the whole motion. Then you do that a few times, and hit a pitch shot. And you try to get the same kind of feeling, but just a simple, really effective way to understand what the wrist is going to do, how that's going to affect the club face, and how we're going to maintain loft to hit better pitch shots.